This is video that I took after I hurt myself on a one wheel, which is exactly what that guy is riding. I had a great time on the thing. It's really super stable. I'm super stable on it, except for when you get really, really fast.
He's landing it.
I think I'll throw you off. Damn it.
Slipping it in just to get down.
Watching somebody slip into a field like this and a machine like that is awesome. We all stood reverently and watched our heavier brethren park his wings. My rib was hurting, so I went for a walk and I got this video a little bit more up close of this airplane. And I saw Tom Kubat on the field, and he was on his one wheel, and I was telling him how I just kind of ate it. I was looking for something else to ride, and he said he had a little scooter, so he hooked me up. Check it out.
So, this is where it's most comfortable to sit, but don't sit here.
Okay.
Sit up here, because if you notice, where I sit here, I'm right over the fulcrum here.
Yeah.
And it'll just wheelie out from underneath you. So sit up here.
All right.
This is the exhaust. It gets red hot.
Okay.
So ride like this with your leg out.
Okay.
Okay. And don't put too much weight on these pegs, but kind of leave your feet in front.
All right.
So you don't, when you go to slide back, you don't want to pull on the handlebars. You want to use your feet to keep you forward.
Okay.
And that's it. And then just go easy, because it really will wheelie.
Really?
Oh my God, dude! This thing. So many people have eaten it off this thing.
All right, y'all. Hell yeah.
It doesn't have front brakes, only back brakes.
Okay.
Oh, it's got A-bangers on it. I mean, look at this thing.
Going to a fly-in is not only about flying. It's about riding on these little things. It's about talking trash with your fellow pilots. You know, I mean, there's little games. They do little stress tests. I mean, I don't know what kind of religion that was for, but it gathered a big crowd. I instantly loved that little scooter.
I'm like just as maneuverable on this as you are on that. Just about. It's got a short turn radius.
I just had a really great time going as fast as I could on this little thing, even with my cracked rib. But it was short-lived. Within an hour or two, the whole thing changed for me. Okay, so I went down to the BadApples fly-in at Hodges Field in Georgia. It's about, I don't know, 7.5 hours for me. I got there Thursday night, got set up, and got to fly that night. It was really, really cool. Hodges Field is beautiful. The grass there is like better than a dank golf course. So, got an hour-long flight over to, I guess, southeast or southwest of the Hodges Field. Went about 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back. Landed just when I got back, right there before sunset. It was a really beautiful flight. I don't think that I got any footage of it. After I got my tent set up and my 10x10 canopy set up and everything situated and met all of my neighbors, it was really, really late. And so I went to sleep, got up around, I don't know, 5 o'clock, and proceeded to get ready to fly. And that morning I got a flight with the Charlie Soapwing, and I got a flight with the Hadron. Didn't miss a launch and felt really good about myself until about lunchtime. And right around lunchtime, I hooked up with the Resurgence PPG guy, Todd Scandrett, and I guess Woody was over there. He didn't show up until later. There was Elena and Tom Kubat and my friend Butch Knight, and several others. Darren Locklear, I think his name is. I'm terrible with names. Really cool guys. Everybody was riding one wheels that a guy named Andrew Solinos, I believe, had brought. He brought 4 of them and he was dealing them, I guess. And I jumped on one and I felt like a natural, had a great time riding it around really slow. And I don't know, I asked somebody, or they told me to give it a whirl and go up the runway, and so I didn't think anything about it. So I got on it and I felt comfortable, and I got a little faster, and I felt super comfortable, and I got a little faster and I felt super comfortable, and I would have been fine if it would have just kept getting faster. Well, what I didn't know is that a one wheel will lock up on you at full speed if you don't respond to the feedback that it gives you when it's hitting a limit. I didn't know about that limit, and so I got thrown off it, and I cracked a rib. It was pretty brutal. I didn't know that I had cracked a rib at the time, but I did crack a rib. So that was about 1 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, I had played off the fact that I had a cracked rib in front of everybody, and played off this horrible fall that people heard 100 yards away, but only a couple people saw it, and nobody got it on video. At least I don't think so. Anyways, so I went back to my tent and tried to lay down, and that's when I realized that something was wrong with me. I couldn't lie down, I couldn't sit up, I couldn't lie down, I couldn't get up, I couldn't sit down. I basically couldn't move. But I was running on adrenaline. I'm still kind of running on adrenaline, it feels like. So while I was sitting there, the tent started to just rumble. I mean, it was just, and it was probably swaying 2 feet either direction. So the major direction of the push, I went into the corner, and I sort of held the tent from the wind blowing it away. I think I was the only thing holding it from blowing away. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And so I looked out the window, I cracked the window, and I looked out, and all the wind started going in the opposite direction all of a sudden. And so I jumped into the other corner of the tent, and right about then, a 10x10 canopy went straight through my damn tent. I mean, it just took it out. Right where I was standing, right where had been trying to sleep, a 10x10 canopy just went straight through there. I got freaked out, so I ran out. I was still kind of dry at this point, which was really weird, because everybody else was super soaking wet, at least that I saw. And I jumped into a Harley Davidson little trailer, and the wind is blowing it this way and that. We waited for about 10 minutes. When I came out, my tent was totally destroyed. My canopy was totally collapsed, except for one little section where I put Tom Kabat's little scooter underneath it, and I guess God had saved his scooter. It also saved my paramotor. One wing was dry. One wing was half completely soaked, and I didn't know it, to my demise later on. All of my clothes were soaked to the bone. It looked like my bedding was dry, so I was kind of happy about that until later. And so I've got a cracked rib, and I just hear people starting up their motors. It was the biggest or closest thing that I've ever come to a tornado. They were just starting up their motors, and I figured, I can't get any worse than this. I've lost just about everything. I do have my paramotor working, so I'm gonna go fly in it. At least make me feel good. I'll come back and I'll deal with this shit later. Started my motor up, threw the Charlie Soap wing out there, and then I launched it. Everything was great. I went for a flight. I think I got 25-30 minutes, something like that. The air was super buttery. Everybody was up there having a great time. And so I decided, hey, the Charlie Soap wing is thoroughly dry. I'm gonna get the other wing out. And upon first inspection, the hadron seemed crispy. And I don't know how it was sitting in my bag, or if my bag had 2 inches of water in it or something, but I pulled the wing out and one side looked crispy, and I just didn't inspect the other side. So I went to launch it, and the wing came up, like the dry side came up, I braked it, and I hit the gas like I normally would with kind of a lazy wing. And when I hit the gas, the wet side finally got air, and when it started coming over, there was no stopping that wet blanket. It just went straight on over.
Never mind what I'm saying there. The wind picked up way too much and I should have killed them.
And I flipped my trike and busted my prop. Luckily I didn't hurt my wing or my rig. Thanks Power to Fly for making a great trike. I've never had to replace a piece of cage. It doesn't have over the top cage bars, and I've never had a wrist sprain or anything like that. Never an injury. I was safe. And when I started limping off the field, I realized that I didn't have a whole lot left. My prop was gone. My tent was gone. My canopy was gone. All of my clothes were wet. My instrument box was about that full of water, and all I thought I had was some bedding that was barely dry and a pillow. And I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna tough it out. I'll buy a prop and fly tomorrow. And like even though my back hurt, it was like 6 o'clock. I was like, I'm just gonna take a little rest before dinner. I laid down and my head went into the nastiest, soggiest, wettest, down-filled, nasty smelling piece of crap I've ever put my head on. That was the last straw. So I went out of the tent, I pulled on my paramotor, and I accidentally hit what was remaining of my canopy, and 5 gallons of water dumps all over me. I had just freshly gotten dry, the last dry t-shirt I had. So I couldn't handle it anymore. Over the next 2.5 hours, I prepared everything for packing into my car, and I'm loading grassy, wet, nasty, muddy stuff into it. Thank God I have an all-purpose cleaner that'll kick. Anyways, at about 10 o'clock that night, I had everything packed up. Everybody said their goodbyes, and I left. I had 7.5 hours to get home. I said, you know, the first hotel outside of town, I'll stop and get a place to stay and sleep it off and just let that be nasty in my car, and I won't care. And I was just like, I'm at the end of my rope. I will just do whatever. So until you get to Augusta, there's nothing. And I think that's 2 hours to Augusta or something like that. But I stop in Augusta, and I don't know what was going on, but about 10 hotels were jam-packed. So at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I get to Columbia. Now, Columbia, I know. My family's from South Carolina, and I say, you know, I'm 3.5 hours from home. I can make it. I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but it feels doable. So I stayed in the car, I got going, I got to Charlotte. And right around Charlotte, a cop got behind me, and it spooked me. And I went into the first rest stop I saw, crashed out. I woke up with a cracked rib, uncomfortable in my car at about 6 in the morning, got home at 8 in the morning, proceeded to empty my car of all that crap, start to dry everything off or clean everything off, threw a leaf blower on and blew my driveway because of all the grass that I blew out of my car. When I finally passed out at about 3 in the afternoon, I've probably been up for like 36 hours, give or take 1 hour of sleep. I had an awesome 5 flights. Maybe it was 4. Maybe that 5th one was just a failed launch. I'll have to go back and really look at my Fly Sky High. But anyways, I wanted to tell this story. I guess you can follow this. Got the last 30 subscribers in the last like 2 months, and I just really appreciate it. So I'm gonna try to make some cool stories now if I can. It was a horrible demise of so much of my stuff and so much of like the weekend. I mean, I didn't even get to stay there the Saturday and Sunday that I wanted to stay there, but I had a great time. I had an excellent chat with Jeff Goins. I got to meet a lot of people that hang out with the Resurgence PPG guys. Also, Nick LaBeouf was out there. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he and his wife, they put on this whole shindig down there, and they kept us all safe and kept us all happy, and they kept us all fed, and they did a really good job. And I had an excellent time, even though I had such a miserable time. I'm usually not a glass half full kind of guy, but man, I had a ball, and I can't wait to go down again next year. And I can't wait to meet these guys at the next fly-in. So as always, I'm gonna throw some music on there. Subscribe if you like this video or the story, and take it easy.
It's all